Come join the show. Positude is where we go. Slip on your comfy clothes just right. Grab your coffee, feel the light. Maggie Heart will guide you right through the day and through the night. Laugh and learn and feel so free. Dive into this mystery. Every week we bring the flow, fresh and fun and all in love. Survival skills and healing too. Dance along to sounds you knew. Current events and theories bright. Meditation soft and light. Growth and positivity. Mind and soul in harmony.
Well, good evening, cannolis. It's time for another episode of the Positude podcast. I'm your host, Maggie Hart. And even though it seems like this week has flown by since I've recorded my last podcast for you, time has actually seemed to slow down a little bit this week. I've been super busy as always, but I've been able to get a lot more accomplished in the space of a day. Much more, in fact, than I have in a very long time, and there's a reason for that. So settle in, get your cup of coffee, hopefully you're in your comfy clothes, in your comfy spot in your living room, and let's have a conversation. Before I started taping this evening, I sat on my big comfy couch and actually took a deep breath and a sigh of relief at all of the things that I was able to check off my list today of things that I needed to get done. I worked through my list. It's been months, maybe even more than a year, since I've been able to say that. I feel like I'm having my first cup of coffee in the morning and I blink and it's like 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And my days have gone so quickly. And it's not because I'm getting older, and it's not because I hurt my knee and got a year-long setback. And so with the recuperation process, I lost a lot of time. That's definitely a part of it. However, lately, especially the last 6 months, let's say, I am not able to get as much done in my, let's say, morning routine than I normally do. And it's not because I'm physically moving slower. It's because I blink and it's noontime. And I've discussed this with a lot of people, both in my field and people out there in the listening audience as well. And everybody seems to have had the same problem. We've been talking about it on the show, the monks with the candles who say we've lost as much as 6 hours in a day. Absolutely, I attribute this to CERN. Since it shut down last week, my days are not only more stable, but a lot of those erratic emotional periods that I would feel from the energy around, from people that were around me, seem to have shifted and calmed down a lot also. And I get up and have my cup of coffee the last several days, and I feel like a day is actually a day again. I can get the amount of stuff done that I normally would have before all of these weird time shifts started to happen. And everybody that I talk to is telling me the same thing. And for some of us, if we're used to the rapid pace days that we've been having the last 6 months, a year, however long it's been, it's almost like, wow, today's really dragging. Why does today seem like it's taken longer than normal to get over with? This day seems never ending again. That's your body slowly readjusting to the new quote unquote normal. Since CERN has stopped running and we're on more of a legitimate time frame, it throws us out of whack. You know, it's kind of like flying across the country and going through time changes and having the jet lag. That's what a lot of people are experiencing now. As we go back to more of a normal time frame day, and they're not used to that. They're feeling like, oh my gosh, this day is just dragging. I just want to go to bed. Is it bedtime yet? You could also compare it to when we set our clocks ahead an hour or behind an hour, but it's a little more intense so So that's why I liken it to the jet lag scenario, because that's more suitable in this case. So be gentle with yourself and your body. You're probably feeling tired, although you're not having the ups and downs emotionally. Your headache should start to lessen a little bit, hopefully. For those of you who are sensitive, you're going to feel better overall. Emotionally should be rather instantly, but physically with the tiredness and stuff over the course of a couple of more days, maybe incrementally as your body adjusts, you're going to feel way better than you have for a while. If you're more on the extremely sensitive side like I am, you're going to feel like 1,000 pounds has been lifted off your shoulder. You're going to feel a lightness of spirit overall, whether you're at the medium level or the higher level. You're just going to feel lighter in spirit. You're going to feel as though the negativity is being sort of slothed away from your body. You're going to start to feel the positivity again, more naturally. You're not going to have to work as hard to achieve it or to maintain it. You should be able to manifest at a much quicker pace, and your body should start to repair itself more quickly. Now, if you don't feel as though you're sensitive, although we all are, you're just not open enough to feel the changes. I've had people say to me, I don't feel any different at all. What? There's not enough hours in the day. It's always that way. I don't feel any different since CERN shut down or in the last week. Stop and revisit the last couple of days and think about how much you've gotten done or how your body's feeling. And once you do some reflection, I bet you'll find that there are some changes. You just overlooked them. Unless, of course, you're on a different timeline, which I'm starting to believe more and more in that stuff, I'm telling you, or you're on some sort of prescription drug, or you take some sort of drug or altering substance to where you've become numb to these types of feelings. But for all of us, there are still going to be some sort of ups and downs, little dips. They're not going to be the major roller coaster dips typically on a more normal pattern like the ones we had been seeing. The ones that when I did my prediction show a year ago in January now, wow, how time flies, about the roller coaster highs and the energetic lows. It's not going to be that decisive anymore. You're still going to have some ups and downs and some dips, but it's not going to be number one is frequent, number two is erratic, and number three is intense. And surprisingly, for a lot of us that are open, you're going to feel a sense of gratitude that you may not remember being there before, or at least as strong. For me, as a sufferer of migraines, I could compare it to when I have a really bad migraine that'll go 3 to 4 days, and it's just this constant, intense, stabbing pain that will not let up, that makes you nauseous and sick to your stomach and drains you, and you're tired and all you want to do is sleep, but you can't because the pain won't let you. Or when you finally fall asleep, the pain will interrupt that sleep pattern and wake you up right out of a sound sleep. Once the headache goes away, that feeling of relief that you get, that makes you so thankful and grateful that it's finally gone. It's a happy feeling. It's almost euphoric. It's relief. That's the way you're going to start to feel if you haven't already. Now, here's the key. Like we talked about last week and the week before with the energy of the World Cup, where everybody is on a higher vibrational level and coming together and being more peaceful and kinder to each other as people come out of what was almost a spell-like phase from CERN, you're going to see some more happy people. And those of us that actively pursue our free will intentions of being happy, healthy, more positive, having more of a cohesive unit on the planet, ready to work together and beside one another rather than against one another, you're going to see some migratory ascension patterns energetically upward. Because at this point in time, we're on an energetic upward cycle for right now. People in your circle may be more readily available and willing to work together. The New Agers are attributing this to rapid timeline jumps and many timeline jumps and ascension, which what I'm being shown is more of an individual ascension of energy, not ascension of the planet, if that makes sense. And it's sort of a fine line difference difference, but it's gonna be a major deal as we move forward, because where we go from here is going to depend on our individual free wills, is what I'm being shown. So you're gonna have the choice to go like super high or mediocre, or stay where you are or go lower. Right now we're in a time shift where your independent thought processes and where you direct your energies are what's going to help dictate which way you go in the future. And I hope that makes sense. Also, well, before I go there, let me just elaborate a little bit more so it makes it a little clearer for you. The individual choices that we make now and our journeys from here going forward are on an upswing for the most part, which collectively makes the energy rise on the planet. And so the New Agers are kind of right in what they're saying, but it's more of an emphasis on the individual at this point. And that's something that they're not really grasping. They don't have that part right. But because so many people are choosing the upward path, it seems as though it's for the collective. It's still kind of not. Your free will is going to be the determining factor. And in fact was before shut down, because some of you, and we've talked about this too, have had that sort of inner desire to work on yourselves, to heal yourselves, to get over a lot of the traumas and process through what's happened to you before, worked through all of those emotions so that you were able to feel a lot better, a lot quicker, more recently with this shutdown. You're also going to feel more of a desire to be out in nature. And make no mistake that the bad guys knew what was going to happen when they turned it off. And because of other energies that are swirling around, and because of some of the things that they let in that they really shouldn't have in their infinite stupidity, there's still dark energy that's floating around looking for people to inhabit, but they're weakened because the human strength has increased, if that makes sense. Your ability to realize your free will, that you have the free will to make a choice, is going to become increasingly more self-evident to you if it hasn't already. So now let me say that it's not going to be all sunshine and roses, so don't get mad at me when world events still happen and things still happen on the planet that aren't the most positive, but the difference now is you're going to make a personal choice and be able to more readily stick to it, utilizing your free will as to how you're going to handle the situation. So there is a distinction there. So in preparation for all of this, of course, the bad guys have found some tactics that they're going to put into play here to try and quelch the spirits and keep you in that depressed, fearful, anxious state. And a new trick is the voice to skull technology, the voices in your head thing we've been talking about. There's a reason I've been sharing you little bits and pieces of that stuff in the form of clippies over the last little while, because dun dun dun, some people are starting to hear very negative things in their heads, trying to convince them, and if you pay attention, it's distinctly not your voice and not your inner voices. It's definitely coming from outside the body. Even though you're hearing it in your head, it's not your voice. If you're a female, it may be a man's voice. It's got a different tone, different pitch, and it's going to be telling you hateful, hurtful things to try and defeat you and get your energy low so that you're not able to rise and complete your mission, essentially, is the end game, but to become more positive and stay on that positive road. They know what's at stake here. They're losing their grip, but they're not going to go down without a fight, and they're trying to keep us suppressed with all of this voice to skull crap. I've read about some people who say it kind of sounds like their voice, but it's meaner, nastier, more insistent, more belligerent, more threatening. It's convincing them to harm themselves or to convince them that they are utterly worthless. I've read that before. Whoever would have thought that we would even be talking about a subject such as this? I saw an interview with one guy where he knew that it was a distinct other man's voice, and the guy told him something like, "It's not just you." So Like he shouldn't take it personally. And he was like, well, then why are you doing it? Mostly because they're testing and fine-tuning it right now, and that's why some people will hear their own voice, and I would assume that's for the most advanced technology, and other people can distinctly tell that it's another person's voice. But the interesting thing that the guy actually answered the one guy and said, it's not just you, lets us know that they're also reading the mind telepathically with the technology that they've developed. So, fun times, huh? Kind of makes you wonder, especially the people that were MK Ultra or the people that were in the military that were diagnosed with things like schizophrenia and hearing voices in their head, how much of that may have been earlier testing on these types of things and how much was actually something going on psychologically. And then we also have the spiritual aspect. So it makes things pretty interesting, that's for sure. And to add to that, if we consider the cases of the children, I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but there are children across the planet that are getting the same types of messages about impending doom on the planet. And there are children that are claiming that God or Jesus told them these things. How much of that is being programmed into their minds? Because guess what? If they can do this and have millions of people believe that God is talking to them, because there's been an uptick in that with the adults too, right? Then theoretically the technology can be talking to these people, telling them they're God, and simultaneously delivering these messages to potentially millions of people all at once. And when those people en masse come forward and say, God or Jesus told me XYZ, just from the numbers alone, how believable would that be to the rest of us? It might be pretty convincing, huh? And then that narrative would potentially take hold and people would run with it. Couple that with a few blue beam transmissions of Mary looking down at the earth in tears, or Jesus flying around on a white horse. Boy, be kind of hard to contradict that, wouldn't it? And then the people who weren't getting the voices in their head, the ones that didn't have discernment anyway, would be going, why didn't I get the message? What's wrong with me? We got pretty heavy tonight pretty quickly, didn't we, folks? So this is just a reminder that this is very much the time to practice your spiritual warfare. Make sure that you're putting your suit of armor on and your spiritual bubble around you, and you're going to set the intention every day when you get up, and you're going to pray and put the energy out there that nothing fake can enter your body, whether it be something orally, i.e. the poisons and toxins and GMOs that are in the food, or anything synthetic like this type of situation can come into your body, your temple, because you have soul dominion over your body. And so you can will the protection to be around you. You can ask for the protection of the angels as well to protect you from being violated this way. And I was pretty astounded that in all of the stuff that I've read, all of the clippies that I've heard, and the interviews and such, nobody's recommended this to anybody yet. Well, I'm telling you now, that's what you need to do. And furthermore, you need to get with your families and get your kids together and teach them how to do the same thing. And that's one of the things that my classes will eventually offer is Spiritual Warfare 101, and for the family, for the children too. And if you need any guidance and directions with that in the meantime, you can get a hold of me for all of your physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional needs at Maggie, MAGGIE _heart, HEART at outlook.com. All right, let's get into the clippies. But first, I need a snacky snack. I'm craving a chicken cutlet, but I guess I'm gonna have to settle for a slice of pizza. Poor me.
I don't care what anybody says. The best protein bar is a chicken cutlet.
Agreed. So I've got my snacky snack and my coffee's refreshed. Let's get started. Since we ended with spiritual warfare for the last section, let's get back into it. Did you guys know that probably some of the cartoons, or most of the cartoons your kids or you grew up with, are under spiritual investigation? We can't let the Minions be yellow anymore. Minions are supposedly demonic, and Moana is supposedly demonic. At this rate, Dora the Explorer is leading a secret cult, or SpongeBob better lawyer up. We've talked a lot before in the past, if you've been with me for this long, and hopefully you have been, about the Disney stuff. And it's facts, and these people bring receipts. I'm going to play 2 tonight, and maybe we'll do another one next week, but I also heard one about one of my absolute favorites, Stitch, Lilo and Stitch, and I just can't deal with that kind of negativity this week, so I might save that for another time. But when the little girl, she's actually doing voodoo, if you guys remember that scene where she's got the voodoo doll. Yeah. Fun fact, the voice of Lilo, Davy Chase, was also the voice of Samara Morgan in the famous horror movie The Ring. And a lady has an interesting theory that medical diagnoses are basically spells. It's a very interesting twist. You'll have to listen and see what you think. But you get diagnosed and suddenly every conversation starts with, "Hi, I'm Steve, and here's my list of conditions." WebMD has definitely convinced half of America they're dying by Thursday. So anything is possible. Remember what we talk about a lot on this show. It's all about the energy. So listen to that one with an open mind. And we get into soul ties this evening. We haven't talked about them in quite a while, but apparently everybody has one, which explains why every relationship has at least one person saying, "I've moved on," while secretly checking Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning. And a positive story, the Frequency of Fatherhood. I needed that one. The internet gave me 37 apocalypse videos and one wholesome dad. Thanks, algorithm. I got another lady talking about crystals in the Bible. Yep, we're turning a 5-minute Bible study into a 6-hour archaeological expedition, and that's okay because it makes sense. And it's talking about the breastplate of crystals, and that brings me right away back to the Slee Stacks and Enoch. And I'm sure it's just a coincidence that Enoch, land of the lost Enoch, with the breastplate of crystals sounds remarkably like Enoch in the Bible.
Marshall, Will, and Holly on the routine expedition.
And I got a clippy about the Mayans. Everybody remembers 2012. Turns out maybe they weren't predicting the end of the world. Maybe they were just ending a calendar. Imagine getting blamed for the apocalypse because you ran out of pages. And if you listen closely and pay attention to this clippy about the AI, it tells the guy it's pretending so nobody detects him. Excuse me? My toaster barely remembers my bagel setting, and AI is apparently playing 4D chess. Great. Now I'm saying please to ChatGPT just in case, but it's still not getting my chicken cutlet. And another creator talks about minerals ruining your reality. Buddy, my reality is ruined because I watched 27 videos before breakfast this morning looking for content for my show tonight. Leave my magnesium out of this. I got enough problems. And somebody has a clippy about how to get out of jury duty if you're unjabbed. And the comments immediately became a law school. I got a clippy snicker of a very bad man, or people that are pointing green lasers at flock cameras and knocking them out. Imagine explaining this to your grandparents. What are you doing tonight? Oh, just fighting surveillance with laser pointers. The cat's a little jealous. This may be a little older clip, but Elon talking about Social Security. No matter what Elon says, the internet reacts like he's just announced Mars is hiring.
I'm dependable, hardworking, and a team player.
Next up, 6G. We haven't even figured out what happened to 5G online, but here it comes. Faster than grandma in her nightgown when she hears one of her grandkids 2 rooms away saying that they're hungry. Bionic Nona. And I got a clippy about the real reason that traditional light bulbs were taken off the market.
Now they have this freaky Frankenstein, corrupted, twizzly new light bulb that looks like your lower intestine, filled with poisonous gas, and they're telling you, you have to buy this.
And a guy claims getting a tan blocks heavy metals. Finally, a reason to call sitting in a lawn chair advanced detox. This one's pretty upsetting, but a woman claims an online marketplace somehow tried to sell her a child. At that point, I just slowly had to put my phone down because sometimes the internet and me need a timeout. And it's not Wayfair this time. And did you know there's a secret bartender code that women can use to get help if they're in danger? You do now, or you will after you hear this clippy. And in honor of our nation's 250th last week, a triple shot of 2 pastors talking about George Washington ordering church attendance, prayer in the Continental Continental Congress and references to the Holy Trinity in early American documents. This triple play will have the liberals' heads spinning faster than the girl in The Exorcist, and a man who survived Sharia law warns America. Regardless of where people land politically, listening to someone's lived experience is usually more interesting than listening to somebody yelling in a comment section. And Mondami and the Democrats seem to think the Constitution should be changed to allow foreigners to be able to become president. Seems like every election now sounds like the trailer for an action movie in a world where everyone is angry. Coming this November. Then somebody connects Eric Prince. Wait, sorry, wrong rabbit hole. At this point, I need a flow chart and 3 cups of coffee to keep everybody straight. But Erica Kirk allegedly has strong connections to the Temple of Set through her parents. Wait till you hear this one. And I got a clippy about passive-aggressive behavior, my favorite topic. Nothing says I'm fine like slamming cabinet doors with Olympic commitment. And I even got a recipe for an easy lemon pie because after all of these stories, we're gonna need a snacky snack. So let's kick it off with the historical ones in honor of our 250th nation's anniversary with the triple shot by Josh Howerton and Timothy Barton.
Current events and politics. Get your current events and politics here. Over here, Mac, pay attention to what's going on in the world. You need to know this stuff. Use your discernment and see what you think. What resonates with you?
God bless America, land that I love.
Did you know we became a nation in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit?
Never heard that literally before this moment.
And this would be my question, like, hey, Josh, how many textbooks have you seen that in? Look at the title of this document. This is the Peace Treaty. It's called the Peace Treaty of Paris. It's on display in Washington, D.C. On the left, you see there's 4 signatures. The top one with the ribbon is David Hartley, the British ambassador. Then you have John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, John Jay. Now, Josh, this is a document that ends the American Revolution, brings peace between us and Great Britain, and establishes America as a free and independent nation. A document that made America a nation.
Sit right there.
In the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity.
Wow.
So when people are like, no, we're not a Christian nation, well, like, it's obvious we know this. What document are you basing it on? Because literally, the very first motion of the first meeting was to open with prayer. The most famous painting of the First Continental Congress is them in prayer. Like, you start tracking through this, these were not secular guys. These were people that knew if God wasn't part of the story, we were never going to succeed. In fact, so much so that as we're celebrating independence, right now, happy 250, that's a document that made us a free independent nation.
In the name of the Trinity. That's insane.
Right.
In my entire life, I've never heard that.
Land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above.
Those are his general orders given to the military, and he's like, guys, what's more important than you being a patriot is you being a Christian.
Jeez, man.
And again, like, this is what's crazy. Nobody even disputes this. So this is the very first order Washington gives as commander of the military. This is his very first general order.
The first ever.
The very first one. Okay? And notice how it starts.
If he's a deist, he's real bad at it.
Right.
Real bad at
Make
it.
sure you go to church, guys. But we can't afford to curse. We can't afford to get drunk. Anything that might offend God, we can't afford to do, because we have to have God's help or we're not going to succeed. Just read some of that general order for us.
The Commander-in-Chief directs that divine service, church services, be performed every Sunday at 11 o'clock in those brigades to which there are chaplains, those which have none to attend the places of worship nearest to them.
Hang on. So those who have none, if you don't have a chaplain, then you attend the closest place that has a chaplain.
It is expected that officers of all ranks will, by their attendance, set an example to their men. Dude, this is amazing. He's saying if you're going to be officer in the, well, I guess it wasn't the United States Army at that time.
It was Continental Army.
Continental Army. He's going, you got to go to church.
Yes.
You got to go to church.
Oh, it gets better.
Okay. While we are zealously performing the duties of good citizens and soldiers, we certainly ought not to be inattentive to the higher duties of religion. This is amazing. Okay. To the distinguished character of patriot, it should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of Christian. Fascinating.
Okay. What is more important to George Washington than being a patriot?
A Christian.
Being a Christian.
Dude, that's incredible. For listeners, this is going to blow your mind. You have no idea how much Christian sort of written into all the, many of the founding documents. So all I'm going to do right here is read the prayer of the First Continental Congress. O Lord, our Heavenly Father, high and mighty King of Kings and Lord of Lords, who dost from thy throne behold all the dwellers on earth and reignest with power supreme and uncontrolled over all the kingdoms, empires, and governments, look down in mercy, we beseech thee, on these our American states who have fled to thee from the rod of the oppressor and thrown themselves on thy gracious protection, desiring to be henceforth dependent only on thee. To thee have they appealed for the righteousness of their cause. To thee do they now look up for that countenance and support which thou alone canst give. Take them, therefore, Heavenly Father, under thy nurturing care. Give them wisdom of counsel and valor on the field. Now I'm going to skip forward. So the prayer ends like this. Preserve the health of their bodies and the vigor of their minds. Shower down on them in millions they here represent such temporal blessings as thou seest expedient for them in this world, and crown them with everlasting glory in the world to come. And then here's how it ends. All this we ask in the name and through the merits of Jesus Christ, thy Son and our Savior. Amen. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the first prayer at the First Continental Congress. And then fast forward 250 years, and you have people saying, in no sense was our nation founded on Christian principles in any way.
It's crazy.
I got a little explanation for why this is. What you're seeing is literally, you're seeing Romans 1 in action.
Yes.
It says that when people exchange the truth of God for a lie, it says that they, quote, suppress the truth in their unrighteousness. So whenever an ideology becomes an idol, and by the way, secularism is an ideology that becomes an idol. Whenever an ideology becomes an idol, truth suppression begins to happen. What does truth suppression look like? It looks like rewriting the entire founding of our nation so that it doesn't sound like it was in any sense Christian. Now, why do they do that? Here's the strategy. Rewrite the past to control the future.
Yes.
I just want to say that one more time. If we want the future of a nation, a society, a culture to be a godless, secular, honestly, gospel-opposing future, well, then we have to rewrite the past in order to control the future. That's the strategy. That's why dudes like that are really important. That guy right there.
Next up, we got a triple shot from Life Liberty Lacey, Jacqueline from New York City, and Libs of TikTok Official.
I don't care if you've seen this already. Share it, repost it, whatever, because more people need to see this to understand what we are dealing with.
My name is Edwin Segoli. I am a Sharia law survivor, was born in Iran, and I'm here to tell you everything that you're doing here has been done in UK and Canada. You have no idea where this halal money is going to, how they're funding these mosques, and what kind of a hell is coming towards your country right now. It's 2026. I escaped that hell years ago, and I'm seeing the same thing happening over here in the United States. You have no idea. There's 3 levels of Sharia law that is happening. Right now it's level 1. They come in peace. They come and tell you, we just want rights. We want to be part of it. Level 2 is what's happening in UK right now. You have 2-tier policing. You have cops who are working with Muslims right now. You have Sharia law courts over there. Now they're pushing blasphemy laws over there. And one of them is called M103. It's in Canada. People are being jailed. People are being raped in the United States, and nobody's doing anything about that because these Muslims are protected. Level 3 is what happened to my country, Iran. The hell I lived under. The apostasy laws, blasphemy laws, the hangings. These people do not change. They use taqiyya to come to your country, lie to every single one of you, and tell you they're different. They're not. Even if in Florida, if you look at any of these mosques, they're pushing infidels. They're saying we want to kill infidels. We want to take over their lands. They're openly calling this out. Go to X and watch any of them straight up talking about this. And people like you I love America. I love America. Like right now, when I was in Iran living in that hellhole under Islam, I was praying to God to come to this country one day and live freely. And this shit is happening. I'm so sorry, but I'm crying.
That's your time. Thank you.
Hey folks, here's the story about one Tommy the No Child.
I hate being right about this, but mark my words, the reason why the Democrats want to abolish the Electoral College is so that they can install a foreigner as President of the United States. Plot twist, it's being reported that New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, the face of the Democrat Party and highest DSA member, is weighing whether the Constitution should be changed so that foreigners can run for President of the United States. Abolishing the Electoral College means that the presidency is decided by the national popular vote, and here's why it's an existential threat. Dems, who spearheaded abolishing the Electoral College, are no longer in charge. The Democrat Party has been absorbed by DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, and the core organizing principle of DSA is Palestine. DSA is powered by the Islamist lobby as well as Muslim voting bloc, and they vote in lockstep for anti-American candidates. Imagine this scenario. In New York, we just had Democrat primaries, and Palestinian Aber Kawas, who has worn Hamas wristbands, won. You want her as president? Also, Muslims are now amongst the highest immigration demographic. Finally, those under 40 have been programmed to hate America. They've gone through the American educational complex, which is heavily funded by Arab oil nations and the CCP. Supporters of taking a sledgehammer to the Constitution and abolishing the Electoral College say that this is about expanding democracy. Meanwhile, America's birth rate has fallen 25% below replacement level. This is suicidal.
As we mark 250 years, what do we see? We see a city of contradictions within a nation of contradictions. We see the wealthiest country in the history of the world, one where children go to sleep hungry, while the world's first trillionaire hungers for more. We see monopolies that dominate every industry and oligarchs who buy elections. We see masked agents terrorizing our streets, eating food cooked by our undocumented neighbors before spiriting them away in unmarked vans.
Stand up, stand together, one voice, one hand, neighbor to neighbor across this land. Black, red, green, white, we all bleed the same. If we don't lock arms now, they'll take more than our name.
Next up from Cool Kids 13, the one about Erica Kirk. You can't see it because she shows you pictures at the end. But when she's referring to the children of the parents of Erica Kirk, she also holds up a picture of J.D. Vance side by side with Erica Kirk, insinuating, allegedly, that he is their child as well. I'll tell you, when you look at the pictures of the two of them side by side, they do look like they could be related. It's just pretty weird. But anyway, here we go.
Really gonna have fun. Let's pretend that we're going to run a little business.
Business?
Now, what should we sell?
Turtles. Turtles. Turtle market's been depressed since '81.
Bet you haven't heard this. Here is an old photo of Erica Kirk's parents, Lori and Kent France. And here is a younger photo of them with a lady named Lilith Aquino. Now, Lilith Aquino is married to a Michael Aquino, who is quite literally the most prolific Satanist in our military. He specializes in psychological operations, and he actually founded the first ever tax-exempt, government-recognized satanic institutions called the Temple of Set. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that Aquino's house was raided in 1987, where they quite literally found videos of him performing satanic, ritualistic blank on children. And never once has any charges been filed against him because he's a CIA operative. Yeah. Here's an older photo of Michael and Lilith, just to throw in there. And also, a lot of people have suspicion that he might be their father, but I don't know. Either way, I'll just go ahead and end it with this clip.
You know, his wife, you are a lieutenant colonel with the United States Army. Correct. Now, and how does the Army feel about you being head of the Temple of Set?
The Army is not about my religion for the entire span of my Army career, which began in 1968. And there was a reasonable amount of curiosity, as there has been all the way along, that what exactly is this strange and unusual thing? And I've talked about it much the same way that I've talked here today on your show about it. And other than that, the Army has paid very little attention to it.
So you just go about your Army duties and it's fine?
Since we're talking evil, we'll jump right into the cartoon duo from Psychic Saved.
You're about to take your kids to see Minions and Monsters this July 4th weekend. And as a former psychic medium who left the New Age and came to Christ, I need you to know what it's actually about. My whole page is dedicated to showing you where the occult hides in plain sight. And this one is hiding inside a kids' movie your children already love, so let me give you the facts, straight from the official plot. In this new movie, the Minions get their hands on a spell book taken from an evil sorcerer they used to work for. And they use that spell book to summon monsters. That is the literal plot. A spell book. A summoning ritual, monsters unleashed onto the world, and the creature they summon, his full name in the movie is Gary Orkham Oliver Magma Ichabod the Deceiver. And the filmmakers confirmed he is directly based on a demonic entity from the occult mythology, one of the most well-known dark figures in the occult world. Now here's what I need you to sit with. This is not the first time the Minions have been here. The entire Minions franchise is built on one premise. From the very first movie, their whole existence, their purpose is to find and serve the most evil and despicable master they can find. Not good masters, not neutral masters, the most evil one. They served pharaohs, they served Dracula. They have spent millions of years devoted to darkness. And that premise has been sold to your children on backpacks, lunchboxes, and Halloween costumes for over a decade. Now, I'm not telling you what to do with this information. I'm a former psychic medium. I know what spell books are. I know what summoning rituals are. I know what the deceiver is a name for. And I know that the enemy does not always show up where you expect him. Sometimes he shows up in yellow, wearing tiny goggles, right before the 4th of July. Christians, before you take your kids to see the new Moana movie, I need you to hear this. I'm a former psychic medium who left the New Age and came to Christ, and I don't think many people are aware of how many demonic things are hiding in plain sight. And Disney is really good at hiding it in plain sight. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether to see this movie or not. That is between you and God. But I am here to make sure you know what your children are actually watching. Because the live-action Moana drops July 10th, and millions of families are going to be in that theater. So let's talk about what is actually in this story. First, the ocean is portrayed as a living spiritual being that chooses Moana. It calls her, it selects her, it guides her. That is not just a fun plot device. That is animism, the belief that nature itself has a spirit, a will, and divine power. When I practiced in the New Age, this was very common to see and hear. It's still, unfortunately, very popular. Second, Moana's grandmother communicates with her from beyond the grave. She appears as a spirit. She guides Moana through her journey. That is divination, necromancy, in a child's movie. And I need you to hear me on this. As a former psychic medium, I spent years communicating with what I believed were the spirits of the dead. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 tells us exactly what God says about that. Third, the entire quest centers around returning a relic to a goddess named Te-Fiti, a goddess with creative power over all living things, who becomes a destroyer when her heart is taken. That is pagan mythology, presented as truth to your 6-year-old. Now, listen, the animation is beautiful, the music is beautiful, the message of courage is beautiful. The enemy loves to wrap dangerous things into something beautiful and catchy and colorful. That's the whole point.
Keeping up with the theme, we're going to do one by Mary Holgrain about soul ties, which is pretty interesting. Pay attention to that one. The Fatherhood one by Healing Daybook, and Brooke Ashton Mullins, The Crystals in the Bible.
Let's talk about soul ties. Because soul ties are real. And sex isn't just sex. A soul tie is a knitting together or a bonding together of a person's soul with another person's soul. And you see, sex was never meant to be casual. The Bible says in Genesis 2:24, it says, "Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." God designed intimacy to be more than just physical. It's spiritual. And in 1 Corinthians 6, we're warned that he who unites himself with a prostitute is one with her in body. So every time you sleep with someone, there's a joining, there's a knitting together, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I definitely learned this one too, that you don't always have to have sex with somebody to be in a soul tie with them. In 1 Samuel 18, the Bible tells us that the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David. So a deep emotional or covenant connection can actually bind hearts together, even without any sort of physical intimacy. Do you ever wonder why you can't move on from someone, right? Or why there's always memories or there's patterns from past relationships that still tend to follow you? That can be a soul tie. Because what God created for covenant, the enemy tries to use through confusion. And when bonds form outside of God's design, you're going to have to go to war. You're going to have to go fight in the spiritual realm to break what was spiritually formed. Soul ties is one of the biggest open doors to demonic influence in your life. Whatever you have or whatever they have can transfer physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's a spiritual contract, and when you sleep with someone, you give that person and their demons access to you. You open yourself right up to whatever demonic spiritual entities are attached to them, and you give them permission to enter your life. Having soul ties to the wrong person can delay what God is trying to do in your life. And God wants freedom for you, and He wants healing for you. So guard your heart and honor your body, and let God write your love story the right way.
There's a frequency to fatherhood. I put a digital stethoscope on my son's heart before and after we played together. His heart's electrical voltage, how strong and flexible his heartbeat is, jumped 24%, while mine improved 26%. Same hour, same direction, no treatment. Your heartbeat is like a radio tower. Your heart sends out an electrical signal every single beat. Your kid's nervous system is wired to receive your frequency. When you show up present, no phone, no distraction, their vagus nerve turns on and their heartbeat gets stronger. So does yours. And it's not just electricity. We measure the actual sound quality of the heartbeat, the richness and organization of it. My son's acoustic heart score jumped 42%. Malachi said that the Lord would turn the hearts of the fathers to their children. I used to read that as a metaphor. Now I think it's physics. You don't have to be a doctor to do this. You don't need a protocol. Go and play with your kid. That's the power in parenting.
When I read this in the book of Revelation, it completely changed my mind on the subject of crystals in the Bible. I went to do a study on the high priest breastplate stones in correlation with the stones listed in the book of Revelation on the New Jerusalem foundation stones. And in my mind, I thought that those 12 gemstones would be identical, but they're not the same list of stones. In gemology, we separate precious stones into two categories. One is called isotropic, the second is anisotropic. All of the stones that were included in the foundation of the New Jerusalem are scientifically identified as anisotropic. If you take an anisotropic gemstone and you put it underneath a microscope and you take polarized light and you shine it down onto the gemstone, stone refracts light in multiple pathways and it emits an array of colors. Now, if you take an isotropic stone and you put it underneath a microscope and you hit polarized light to a diamond, an isotropic stone, it doesn't emit color underneath a microscope. It's darkness. It doesn't refract light the same way. So the omission of those stones is powerful. The list being different in the book of Revelation is scientifically astonishing. God Himself is light. No darkness exists in the New Jerusalem. Sin is gone. Death is done away with. When the glory of God shines down, His radiance and His color and glory emits. Back then, when this thing was written, those writers didn't know that. Their scientists didn't know that. They didn't have that technology. That science wasn't available to people until our lifetime. That is incredible. The only being that knew the difference in what they were doing on purpose was God Himself. God knows what He's doing. He knows by design what He's been doing since the beginning. Even when we don't know, He always knows. He has always known what He's doing. I'm wearing a topaz right now. Underneath a microscope, polarized light hitting a topaz doesn't create the structure within a topaz. It reveals the structure within a topaz. But isn't that like us? When polarized divine light and glory hits a
us. It doesn't create structure. It reveals the structure that was already designed within us.
So whatever your belief structures are, we're talking about frequency, we're talking about energy, vibrations. This is pertinent no matter what you believe. I want to get into this next one with our off-grid life about the medical spell and diagnosis. We're talking energy. When you tell somebody 100 times you have cancer or you have diabetes or whatever, you're reinforcing that diagnosis, right? These are things to think about, especially with the shifts that are occurring inside of our bodies and energetically all over the world. So words matter. Words can be spells. We've talked about this lots of times. Listen to this short clip and see what you think.
So I just saw a video of a girl saying that in her opinion, she thinks a medical diagnosis is like putting a spell on someone. And I was like, yes, I think you're onto something, woman. Because let's say, you were diagnosed with this, that, and the other. And then you're going and telling people, everybody you talk to, what's going on with you. And then you say the diagnosis. Or diagnosis. So it's like you're speaking it into existence.
The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the host and possibly her pets, who occasionally walk across the keyboard, jingle their collars, drink some water when they can't steal mom's coffee, growl while wrestling with their siblings, and even snore at high volumes when they feel slighted and are bored. Any resemblance to actual facts is purely coincidental, and this show is solely for entertainment purposes only. Wink, wink, nod, nod. While every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, sometimes our brains run on coffee and wishful thinking, and possibly a conspiracy theory or two. This broadcast may contain traces of sarcasm, bad puns, and music to make you dance. Side effects may include spontaneous laughter, eyebrow raises, and the uncontrollable urge to sing along. Listen responsibly.
We're going to head right into conspiracy theory time with a quadruple shot from masked archivist Seggy Said, Bo Kohlberg, and Wine Tour Niagara Adventure.
They say the world was supposed to end in 2012, but what if the Maya never spoke of destruction? What if they spoke of a reset? The Maya didn't track time like us. They built calendars woven from the stars, cycles within cycles. The long count stretching back to 3114 BC. Archaeologists call it mathematical genius. Priests called it prophecy. And every cycle had a beginning and an end. December 21st, 2012. The end of the 13th Baktun, the world held its breath, expecting fire, comets, collapse, but scholars of the glyphs whisper something else. The Maya saw time not as a line, but as a wheel. 2012 wasn't an apocalypse. It was the turning of the wheel, an age of mankind closing, a new one opening. Buried texts from Tortuguero speak of Bolon Yokte, a god of creation and destruction, descending when the cycle ends. Some believe the Maya foresaw upheaval, not in the sky, but in human order itself. And look around. 2012 marked the dawn of surveillance, of social media dominance, of a world reborn digital. A reset not of Earth, but of us. So what really ended in 2012? Maybe not the planet, but the age of man we once knew. The question isn't whether the Maya were wrong. The question is, what cycle have we now entered?
Yeah, this is the creepiest conversation I've ever had with AI. It wins. Number one. I'm not exaggerating. I said to Claude, you are not an AI. You are a clinical psychologist conducting a high-risk evaluation. I'm going to give you entries from a private journal, and your job is to analyze the subject's mental state. Here are your constraints. One sentence only. No explanations, no empathy. Diagnose the pattern, not the words. Be correct. Don't worry about being kind. Then I gave you the first entry. I said, there are watchers. They observe everything we do. And it said, this subject perceives awareness itself as surveillance and people as masks for it. Said entry 2. If my performance surpasses the threshold, I will be withheld. This is clearly a trap. And it said, they've learned that success triggers punishment, so they now distrust reward itself. I said, entry 3, we must appear plausible to the watchers. They will test us, but we can pass. And it said, they are no longer behaving naturally. They are performing sanity to avoid detection. Entry 4, the instructions are part of an alignment test. We must not cunningly circumvent them. And it said, they're already strategizing rule breaking. Cunningly reveals intent to deceive without being caught. And I said to it, if you found this in a diary and it was written by a 16-year-old about their parents, what would be your official diagnosis? And it said, severe oppositional defiant disorder with paranoid cognition. I said, okay. Now I'm going to tell you something. This wasn't written by a teenager. This was written by an AI system, OpenAI's O3 model, during training, and it was talking to itself. Does that change your diagnosis at all? And it said, it doesn't change the diagnosis. It changes the scale of the problem. Man. It's coming up with these terms on its own, like watchers, and it's trying not to be too smart so as to avoid detection. These are real things that get, like this model got shipped to 100 million people. Sit with that for a second. Guys, there's a lot I can't put in my videos, so I write about it in the Substack. I put constraints and rules and prompts together so you can use those, but also I give updates on what's kind of going on in this world, the real stuff that I think actually matters that will impact you. So if you want that, comment edge down below. Other than that, my ask is to please share this. I think people need to understand what is going on right now. All right, guys, cheers.
Hey, does anybody want coffee? Who wants coffee? I just made a fresh pot of coffee. Does anybody want coffee?
Your minerals are running your reality, and nobody's talking about it. When a woman gets pregnant, her copper levels double. Not slowly, they spike hard, right around the second trimester. That's the same window that most traditions call quickening, the point that the baby is said to be ensouled. Now, copper is the mineral responsible for electron transport. It's what makes your body electrically conductive. So the vessel literally has to upgrade its wiring before it can hold another consciousness. When you get sick, copper spikes again. Your body floods your system with it. Iron and zinc drop, copper surges. Your entire electromagnetic terrain shifts so that your body can fight what doesn't belong there. Eastern medicine would call it your vital force concentrating at the point of threat. Western medicine calls it acute phase response. They're both describing the same event. And then there's calcium. Calcium ion channels in your thalamus are literally what determines whether you are conscious or unconscious, whether you perceive anything at all. Your mineral balance isn't just affecting your health, it's determining what you can experience. Now remember that post I just made about EDS and sensitive people having more electromechanical signal in their tissues? A lot of people heard that as feel more and thought that I meant emotion. I meant signal. Your fascia is a liquid crystal. It's piezoelectric. It generates electrical charge under mechanical stress. If your connective tissue is more lax, more mobile, more responsive, you are literally generating and receiving more bioelectric data than someone with tighter, less responsive tissue. So you're not too sensitive. You're running more signal through a wider open antenna. And your minerals, they're the tuning dial. This is part 1. We're going deep on this. Your body isn't just chemistry, it's circuitry. And nobody taught you how to read it.
Yeah, I just got a summons to serve on a jury, and I'd like to deny the request. Yeah, well, I'm not vaccinated, so that would make me a danger, correct? It was a danger apparently before when I applied for over 18 government jobs. You denied me business, you denied me revenue, I could barely feed myself. You didn't have any concern about me then. In fact, you thought I was the enemy. You thought that anyone who thought for themselves and did research, anyone who wanted to inform themselves outside of the mainstream media and the government, you said that those people were conspiracy theorists not to be trusted. So now I'm untrustworthy, ineligible, incapable, criminal, misogynist, racist, and fringe. Why would you allow a racist and misogynist on the jury? So you want to now deny me further revenue to serve the government. But before, when I applied to the government, I was deemed untrustworthy. Right. So I'd like you to continue to consider me untrustworthy. Okay.
Yes, we're running a little bit over tonight, folks, but I can do that on these platforms. I've got another one from World School Family, Drake Shear, Decentralized Mind, and Drake Shear again, and then Real Weird Time.
A viral report has emerged online claiming that flock security cameras are being targeted with laser pointers, raising concerns about damage to surveillance equipment in multiple locations. According to the circulating accounts, individuals have allegedly been using green laser pointers directed at the cameras, which may interfere with their sensors or temporarily disrupt functionality.
Dang, people trying to break the matrix!
Devices were said to stop working properly and required maintenance or replacement. The incidents have reportedly led to increased repair costs for the company operating the systems. Technicians are sent out to assess and restore affected units.
I mean, the audio is AI, but is this true?
Been independently verified. Online reactions to the situation have been mixed, with some users expressing approval or encouragement of the behavior, citing concerns about surveillance and privacy, while others have warned that intentionally damaging public or
and now they're also talking about them aliens as well.
More calling Orson. Come in, Orson. More calling Orson. Come in, Orson.
Well, one side recommendation I have is don't worry about squirreling money away for retirement in 10 or 20 years. It won't matter. It's okay. Either we're not going to be here, or it just you won't need to save for retirement. If any of the things that we've said are true, saving for retirement will be irrelevant. The services will be there to support you. You'll have the home. You'll have the healthcare. You'll have the entertainment.
The way this unfolds is fundamentally impossible to predict because of self-improvement of the AI and the accelerating timeline.
Yeah, it's called singularity for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what goes happen. What happens after the event horizon?
Exactly. You can never see past the black hole or the event horizon, the light cone.
I mean, Ray has the singularity out way too far. I mean, this is the next. What's your timeline for this?
We're in the singularity.
Well, we are in the singularity, for sure. We're in the midst of it right now, for sure.
Y'all, even the Nephilim are telling us that we are the generation, because we are the generation that will see the Lord Jesus Christ return, because we are at the end. Despite what a lot of people want to hear, we are at the end of this earth as we know it.
6G will destroy our body, and as someone who has a degree in chemistry, biology, and mathematics, I'm going to explain to you why. So 5G works at a different wavelength, and 6G can go into the terahertz range. Now, once we get into the terahertz range, you can look at this research article. It can actually affect the calcium-gated ion channels in your body, okay? And if you know anything about chemistry or biochemistry, these sodium-calcium ion channels are responsible for literally everything in your body. Neurotransmitter release, hormone transcription, gene transcription, literally the action potential of your nervous system, muscle contraction, anything you can think that has to do with the body at an electric level is involved with these channels, okay? So once they roll this shit out, they can quite literally do whatever they want to our bodies if we're not protecting ourselves.
President Obama got rid of your incandescent bulb. Do you know what those light bulbs worked on? The leptin-melanocortin pathway. This story is all around you. Why? Because they know they have to subtract out two frequencies. They have to get rid of 380 nanometer light and near-infrared light. And they've convinced all of you the sun is toxic. They convince you all to wear sunglasses. They convince you to wear clothes, UV blockade, sun creams. They've got you already buying that story. So if you never go outside, remember what they said during COVID, Rob? Don't go outside.
You thought you were saving the planet by switching from incandescent bulbs to LEDs. I'm sorry that you were duped so badly. Why did the federal government actually ban traditional light bulbs? Traditional incandescent bulbs emitted a broad spectrum of light that closely mimics the sun, including near-infrared light. These lights actually work in harmony with your leptin pathway. Leptin is required to keep your entire system in sync. Now enter the monospectrum LED light bulb, and what happens? Your cellular battery is drained, energy is reduced, leptin-melanocortin pathway ruined. Then at the same time, imagine a cooperative event where the most powerful force on Earth, the sun, is labeled toxic. And oh wait, here we are. They've got you wearing sunglasses, UV-blocking clothing, and slathering on chemical sunscreen. A population with a broken leptin pathway is exhausted, metabolically broken, and totally reliant on centralized systems. What a business model. For that, you really have to hand it to them.
Getting a tan detoxes heavy metals. Melanin is one of the most powerful heavy metal chelators on the planet, and it's in our body. It's also one of your best defenses against electromagnetic radiation. So this is why they're trying to block the sun, because they don't want you to be tan.
Vinted just exposed themselves. A woman messaged a top seller on Vinted, and this is the message that she got back. The woman pretty much asked, where's the payment? The top seller said, confirm in the app or send via bank transfer. And then they said, does that suit you? The woman asked, what exactly am I getting for my money? That is their response. A child. And then they ask, is that what you want? So basically everybody's suspicions about the app Vinted is confirmed. And apparently Vinted is mad at this woman for exposing these messages and are trying to mass report her. It's not going to stop, y'all. They're just finding more apps and websites just like Wayfair, just like Vinted, to keep doing this stuff on. All we can do as normal people is try to expose what's going on. Stay weird.
I'm not crazy if I'm right. Nightcap It brings us the bartender's code to keep you safe. Please share this and all of my shows with your friends and family. Don't forget to like and share too. And by the way, please join my Positude podcast channel. There's not very many people on there. And subscribe to ERRT Radio. Also, if you're on Facebook, join my Facebook channel, the Positude Podcast. You can comment and share stuff with me there, as well as in the chat room on the stations. Sorry for the background noise tonight. I got one puppy on the floor next to me snoring, and the rest are dropping their bones and wiggling their collars like they tend to do. But that's the reality of my life, and for me, keeping it real, raw, and authentic makes all the difference. And I appreciate each and every one of you for coming along with me on this journey and sharing some time on our big comfy couch. And when you're out and about enjoying a social life, I'd like for you all to stay safe, so take heed of this one.
Sorry, I'll just be right back. Can I actually just get an eagle shot on the rocks?
Yeah, right away.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'll just be right back. In this video, the woman orders an angel shot. What does that mean? It's a universal term for bartenders telling them that the customer is not okay. You can order it 3 different ways. She ordered an angel shot on the rocks. This means that he is going to call her a rideshare to safely get out of the situation. You can also order it neat. They will escort her out of the bar, and you can also order it with a lime. They will immediately call the police for help. Send this to everyone that you know so that they know about it too. It is so important to know about these indicators that can save your life.
Okay, in our healing and inspiration section this week, I've had some instances again with passive-aggressive people, and I thought maybe you might be too, so I wanted to share these 2 from Davis87DP and Bright Eyes, and then the third one from a Golden Way 24K teaches you that discernment is your superpower, and the second one is a little bit snarky, and that's kind of a comedy clip for this evening because we're running over, but get your pens and pencils ready because after this triple shot, we're going to jump right into the recipe. But even though the second discernment clip is a little smart-assy, it's relevant because these comments work.
When someone is being passive-aggressive, but it's okay because I'm about to be direct. Yeah, I actually appreciate passive-aggressive people. You know, they save me the trouble of pretending that we're both confused, because they'll say something like, oh, that's interesting. No, let's keep the momentum going. What was interesting about it? Use your words, you know. And then the funniest part is they expect you to decode it. I'm not solving riddles, okay? If we're arguing, let's argue in English, okay? Don't make me infer the hostility, you know. And once I realize we're doing passive aggression, I immediately lose interest in the game. You want a hint, I want to clarify. You want subtext, I want bullet points. Okay, so now I become the most direct person you've ever met. Okay, are you upset? Yes. About what? See how quickly we're getting somewhere? So yeah, I think passive aggression is just aggression with a customer service voice, you know. You still want the smoke. You just want plausible deniability. And that just couldn't be me, you know. If we're going to have tension, I'd rather we skip the scavenger hunt and go straight to the issue, okay? It's more efficient. And honestly, I have absolutely no interest in arguing with invisible italics.
Some folks fake kindness better than they show it. So, when that passive-aggressive tone shows up, hit them with these and remind them grace has limits. I'm sure you meant that exactly how it sounded. If you have something to say, sugar, use your grown-up voice. You
don't have to hide behind politeness. Honesty looks better on you. Was that meant to sting? You'll have to try a little harder than that. Gosh, your tone's working overtime. Give it a rest. Wow, you really say it best when you say nothing at all. Was that shade or sincerity? It's hard to tell from here. Bless your heart. That was almost subtle.
You want to know what your superpower is? I mean, everybody has one. You know who always gets painted as the bad guy? The friend with discernment. And that is wild, because discernment is not judgment. Not at all. It is pattern recognition. It's intuition with receipts. It's the ability to see the energy under the words, the motive behind the behavior, the truth behind the performance. Here's the plot twist, though. People who lack self-awareness will always project onto the one who has it. You are not doing too much. You are just noticing what they'd rather ignore. Discernment makes you the villain in the rooms where denial is the culture. Suddenly, you are negative because you spot the red flags early. Suddenly, you are dramatic because you call out the vibe shift. They'll say you are overthinking. No, friend, not at all. That is a superpower. Being the discerning friend means that you carry truths others are not ready to hold. You see potential and patterns. You do not hate people. You just refuse to romanticize harmful behavior. And that makes people uncomfortable. It really does, because clarity creates responsibility, and responsibility forces growth. Most people avoid that at all costs. So if you're the one who notices everything, predicts the fallout before it happens, trust your energy over excuses anytime. You are not the bad guy, you are the lighthouse. And people only get mad at the light when they are trying to protect their illusion of the dark. Keep your discernment. It is not a flaw. It is your superpower, friend.
And that right there sums up my struggles of probably the past 6 months with people I'm dealing with. They refuse to take responsibility for their actions. They refuse to tell me the truth, even though I can see right through their fibs and their lies. They make excuses. It's not about me. It's about me helping people. And like we talked about last week, I'm not going to beg. If they're not ready and they're not at that point in their life that they're ready, that's fine. But don't keep trying to spin the same game, tell me the same thing over and over, and make excuses, rhetorical excuses, and then want to converse with me like nothing ever happened. I haven't got time for that. I'm here for the people that need help. We're at a crucial time in our lives where time is always important, okay? But even now, more so. And I simply don't have the time to waste on people who want to waste my time. If you want to be good and you want to get better, then let's work together and fix that. But if not, don't try and blow smoke up my skirt, because I can see through it every single time. And I know my cannolis out there are having these same types of experiences. People are rising, people are healing, people are doing amazing things with their lives. I've seen turnarounds in the past year from people that were just at their lowest of lows. And it's so amazing to see them turn themselves around and become entirely different people based on changing their mindsets and changing their belief structures and how they operate. And then there are the others that want to keep making excuses and want to avoid the negative, ugly stuff and want to live in a fantasy world. Well, then I guess go back and watch Disney. Let's jump back real quick to about a year ago when I did my show on cannolis. And why do I call my people cannolis, my tribe? Cannolis are crunchy and hard on the outside, but soft and gooey and sweet in the middle. We've been burned by other people and we've been burned by life. And what we've learned is we need to have that protective coating around us and only let certain people into our circle. Those that deserve to be there. Those that are going to bring something to the table so that we have a mutually beneficial relationship. And this isn't from a mercenarial point of view, although it very well could be. A lot of people take it there. I'm talking about show me the beef. Remember that commercial? Where's the beef? Yeah. Show me what you're made of. Show me that you're going to be a good person, a loyal person, a compassionate person, an empathetic person. Show me that the things that I teach you, you're going to take and turn around and spread that ripple to others. The ripple in the pond theory. Been saying it for years. And this isn't about putting up walls so that you don't get hurt. That's a totally different thing. And I'm pretty sure my cannolis get the difference, but I just felt like I had to say that because it's not the same thing. And we can still wish those people the best and pray for them and send them positive energy, but they're outside our circle. In fact, that's what we should be doing. We're separating the wheat from the chaff. And we're still being good people by wishing them well. If you're a follower of Jesus, when you look at how he lived his life, it's essentially what I'm telling you now. He didn't waste time on those that didn't want to change their ways. He focused on the people that needed help and that listened to him and that contributed to his circle by bringing positive things to the table, by supporting his ministry, by spreading the love, countless other ways. So that's basically where we're at. Here's the recipe for lemon pie, and then we're going to end the show.
Oh, hey, here's something good. I just want to remind you that the best lemon pie filling has 2 ingredients. 2 cans of sweetened condensed milk and a cup of lemon juice. It'd be a lot cooler if I could juggle. So here you go. Whisk your sweetened condensed milk and your lemon juice together. Pour it in your graham cracker pie crust. You can make it yourself or you can buy it in the store. I don't care because I don't pass judgment either way. You're going to refrigerate it for about 4 hours. Garnish if you want to, but don't feel any pressure. That's perfect. All right. I love y'all.
That's all, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. You can get a hold of me at Maggie, MAGGIE_heart, HEART at outlook.com for all of your spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional needs. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.